Welcome to Mythic Story Chronicle. Today, we're diving into the legends of Norse mythology, where ice meets fire and worlds are born. Before we begin, a note. Although the Norse understanding of how the cosmos came to be is rooted entirely in a mythic view of nature, the ideas within it are still worth pondering. The Norse imagined that creation began in a space where nothing existed, not even light or darkness. This absolute space was the bottomless abyss, the Ginnungagap. Within this chasm, a mass of primeval matter slowly shifted and separated over immeasurable time, until the world began to take shape. To explain this properly, we have to see the world as the Norse did. They pictured the world as a great circular disk, ringed by ocean. If you sailed to the very edge, you would drop straight into the abyss, the end of the world. They believed that the far north was covered in ice and snow, while the south burned with blazing fire. This view mirrors the climate they knew, colder to the north, warmer to the south. As for the world's edge, Ginnungagap, the Norse first placed it north of Norway. With ongoing voyages and exploration, that boundary moved. By the 14th century, it sat between Vinland, modern Nova Scotia, and Greenland. By the 17th century, as navigation improved, it was fixed between Greenland and Helluland, today's Labrador Peninsula. Old Norse sea charts even marked the location of Ginnungagap. King Harald the Tyrant once tried to sail north from Norway toward the world's end. Seeing the land masses grow thin, he believed the edge lay just ahead in the unknown darkness and turned back, fleeing what no one could pass. At the origin of the cosmos stood the vast abyss, Ginnungagap. To the north was the mist world Niflheim, its climate matching the northern weather. At its center boiled the spring Hvergelmir, like an eternal cauldron, which is why some called it the boiling pot. From Hvergelmir flowed 12 rivers toward the abyss. As the waters neared the chasm, the cold turned them to glaciers. They piled up at the edge, toppled into the void, and thundered with a roar. Yeah. To the south lay the realm of flame, Muspelheim, guarded by the fire giant Surtur. He would strike at the glaciers falling into the abyss with his great sword, each blow booming like thunder, while the heat melted the ice. In this eternal cycle, droplets from the melting ice formed the body of the first frost giant, Ymir. When the warm breath of Muspelheim reached him, life stirred, and the giant began to move. At the same time, a cow appeared in the chasm, Audhumla. Ymir survived on the milk she gave, while Audhumla herself lived by licking the salty frost from the ice. One day, as Audhumla licked, a man's hair appeared in the salt. On the second day, an entire head emerged. On the third, the whole man broke free. He was the first god, the progenitor, Buri. The earliest frost giant, Ymir, and the first god, Buri, were both androgynous. Ymir brought forth the wise giant Mimir, the giantess Bestla, and the six-headed giant Thrudgelmir. Thrudgelmir, in turn, bore the malevolent giant Bergelmir. Buri fathered Bor, the begetter. In Norse myth, giants represent chaos or evil, while the gods stand for order and right. Conflict was inevitable. The endless struggle continued until Bor took the giantess Bestla as his wife, and she bore Odin, Vili, and Ve, who symbolize spirit, will, and the sacred. And the tide began to turn. In the end, the gods defeated Ymir. They dragged his body to the very center of Ginnungagap and fashioned the world from him. His flesh became the earth, his blood the sea, his bones the mountains, his hair the forests, his skull the vault of heaven. They used Ymir's eyelashes to build Midgard, the world of humanity, while his brow became the clouds and his teeth rose as fortress walls. When all this was done, the gods gathered sparks from Muspelheim and set them in the sky to light the world. Each spark had its appointed place, and by them the Norse told time. Of the defeated giants, only Bergelmir and his wife survived. They fled by boat to the world's edge, settled there, and founded the realm of the giants, Jotunheim. From them came a new host of frost giants, forever seeking to invade other worlds and sow harm. After creating the first world, the gods named themselves the Aesir, pillars and supporters of the world, and continued to perfect creation. A wolf fated to swallow the sun, a god of law who stakes his own hand on a promise, and a ribbon spun from impossibilities. This is the Binding of Fenrir, and the price Tyr pays. The Norns speak of a wolf who will break his bonds at Ragnarok and bring ruin upon the gods. The wolf is Fenrir, born of Loki and the giantess Angerboda, brother to Jormungandr, who coils the seas, and to Hel, who rules the dead. The gods decide to keep the wolf close. They raise him in Asgard under watchful eyes, but the cub grows quickly. Each season doubles his strength. With each meal, the unease in the halls deepens. The Aesir hear prophecy in every footfall and see foreboding in every shadow he casts. Among the Aesir stands Tyr, god of law, of oaths, of the weight that words must carry. In a hall of warriors, he is the one who does not flinch. Where others hide worry and laughter, Tyr keeps silence and resolve. Fenrir trusts none of the gods. He recognizes mockery when he hears it, trickery when he smells it, iron when he tastes it. Yet he accepts food from Tyr's hand, and he meets Tyr's gaze without fear. Between them, a fragile trust takes root. To measure the wolf's strength, the gods propose a game. They bring a chain called Leddingr, heavy iron, forged with divine skill. Fenrir allows the binding, crouches, and pulls. Iron snaps like dry twigs. The gods laugh, but the sound does not reach their eyes. Fenrir shakes the fragments from his fur and waits for whatever they will try next. They return with a stronger chain, Dromi, twice as thick, twice as proud. Again, the wolf submits, as if indulging a child's test. He plants his paws, arches his back, and the lynx scream and burst. The jokes die in the mead hall. What they fear to name has stepped into the room. Iron will not hold him. If strength fails, craft must succeed. Odin sends messengers to Svartalfaheimer, where dwarfs work wonders under stone. In secret halls, the smiths spin a ribbon called Gleipnir, soft as silk, stronger than fate, woven from things that cannot be. The sound of a cat's footfall, a woman's beard, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. The dwarfs return the ribbon with a smile. It will hold, they say, until the world's last day. The Aesir take it and breathe a little easier, though none are willing to say why. The gods choose a place far from home and witness, an island called Lyngvi upon the dark lake Amsvartnir. They invite the wolf with friendly voices. They speak of sport and trial and glory. Fenrir goes because he fears nothing and because Tyr walks beside him. Over black water and heather-grown ground, the company comes to rest. The wolf watches. The gods measure distances with their eyes and swallow their unease. When they show him the ribbon, Fenrir narrows his eyes. The thread is too light, too soft, too clever to be innocent. He says, "I will submit to this binding only if one of you places a hand in my mouth as a pledge of good faith. If there is no treachery, my teeth will not close." Silence settles like frost. No one moves until Tyr steps forward. He does not ask permission. He does not make a speech. He simply offers his right hand. Fenrir studies him. He has known mockery and spears and baited traps. He has not known honesty. He opens his jaws. The gods wind Gleipnir around Fenrir's limbs and body, one coil and then another, fastening the ribbon to chain and stone. The wolf heaves. Nothing yields. He strains until the earth trembles, but the ribbon holds. A growl rises from his chest into a roar that would scatter flocks for miles. Gleipnir does not break. The gods stand very still. In their stillness is awe and fear. Fenrir turns to Tyr. In his eyes there is betrayal, and there is understanding. He closes his jaws. Tyr's right hand is gone, and the god of law does not cry out. The Aesir fixed the ribbon to a boulder with a length of chain and set a sword between the wolf's jaws to hold them open. The foam that runs from his mouth becomes a river called Van, and it hisses around the stones as if speaking a curse. The deed is done. The binding holds. The gods cheer, but softly. They have bought something precious and temporary. Time. The seeress has spoken in Völuspá. When the world burns, bonds will break. Until then, the halls will stand. Tyr wraps his arm. He does not curse the wolf, and he does not curse the gods. A pledge was asked. He gave it. Peace demanded a price. He paid it. Fenrir watches the horizon with eyes that do not forget. Seasons turn. Above the world, wolves chase the sun and the moon, Skull and Hati on their endless hunt. Below, the ribbon endures, and the island waits. One day, when the last battle calls and the sky is red with embers, the wolf will break free. Odin will meet him. Fate will keep its appointment. But that day is not this day. Today, Gleipnir holds. In this tale, strength fails and craft prevails. Wit is sharper than iron, and oath-keeping demands blood. Fenrir trusts only the god who does not lie. Tyr trusts a peace that can be bought only once. Between them lies a ribbon made of things that cannot be, and yet are. If this story moved you, join us again. There are other threads of fate to follow, and other oaths whose prices have yet to be paid. One morning in Asgard, the thunder goes silent. Thor reaches for his hammer, and the space where Mjolnir should be is empty. The weapon that steadies the sky is gone. This is how the giants almost married a bride of thunder. Thor does not whisper when he is angry. The hall hears the crash of his mood. Mjolnir is missing, he says, and whoever took it will feel its return. But no one in Asgard knows. There is only one who can cross walls and answers both ways. Loki, born of giants, blood-sworn to Odin, quick of tongue and quicker of foot. Loki borrows Freya's falcon feather cloak, a gift feathered with speed. He throws it over his shoulders and leaps from the high wall of Asgard. Feathers beat the air. He dives over seas and shores until a shadow rises from the north. Jotunheim, the land of giants. In a cold hall roofed with stone, a giant waits with a smile already forming. The giant's name is Thrym. He sits with hounds at his feet and snakes knotted in his beard like ornaments. Looking for something, Asgardian? Thrym asks. Loki does not waste the lie he'll need later. Thor's hammer, he says. Have you seen it? Thrym's smile widens. I have hidden Mjolnir 8 leagues beneath the earth. No hand will touch it until I hold Freya as my bride. The falcon feathers lift Loki back to Asgard in a heartbeat that feels longer. Thor meets him halfway across the rainbow bridge, face already storming. Loki relays the ransom. The hall erupts with talk, rage, laughter at the sheer insult, and then the silence that follows a hard truth. Without Mjolnir, Asgard is a hall without door bars. Freya hears, and her eyes flash like a kingfisher's wing. Me? To a rock king? She refuses with a force that shakes her necklace Brisingamen against her throat. I will not go to Jotunheim for any giant's bed. The gods do not press her. The stakes are too high to break their own. Then Heimdall speaks, whose sight reaches to the edge of dawn. There is another way, he says, a plan with laughter in it. He looks from Thor to Freya and back to Thor again. Dress Thor as a bride. Silence. Then a sound that might be a cough or a swallowed laugh. Thor scowls. I am the hammer bearer, not a maiden. Heimdall's gaze does not blink. Without Mjolnir, you are only a man in a red beard. With it, you are thunder. Put on the veil, take the necklace, and we will go to Jotunheim. Loki will be your handmaid. Loki smiles, the smile of a man volunteering someone else. I have always wanted to serve at a wedding. They array Thor in Freya's bridal veil, in layered linen, in rings that flash like lightning trapped in gold. They set Brisingamen at his throat and a heavy bridal keyring at his belt. They draw a veil low over a face that looks more like a cliff than a maiden. Loki, bright-eyed, ties on a kerchief and practices a curtsy. Goats scream joyfully in the harness as Thor's chariot lifts. Wheels spit sparks along the sky road. The bride and her maid cross the sea of air to Jotunheim, where Thrym has prepared a hall with benches for giants and vats of mead that could drown a bear. Word runs ahead of them. Freya comes. Thrym greets the bridal pair with a bow as deep as his greed. Never have I seen a bride so tall, he says, keeping his voice smooth. The veil does its work. Loki answers for Thor, voice sweet as mead. My lady has not slept for 8 nights, so eager was she for this union. Thrym beams. Then let us feast. Feast they do. Thor forgets himself the way a river forgets the pebble and drinks an ox horn dry in a single pull. Then 2 more. He eats an entire ox, 8 salmon, and every sweet on the bridal board. Thrym blinks, but Loki is ready. My lady has not eaten for 8 nights, so eager was she for this union. Thrym laughs too loudly. Eagerness is a fine spice. At last, Thrym leans in to lift the veil and kiss his bride. Thor's eyes burn in the shadows like coals at the heart of a fire. The giant recoils. Why are Freya's eyes so fierce? Loki pats the air. Because she has not slept for 8 nights, so eager was she. For this union, says Thrym more carefully, but a bride must be blessed, and a hammer is the friend of blessings. Thrym calls for Mjolnir to be laid on the bride's lap to seal the vows. Words ripple through the hall. Servants run, doors open, and the hammer comes. Laid on a cushion, ringed with runes, weight enough to sink most ships. The air changes when it enters, like the pause before the storm breaks. Something old and true wakes in Thor's fingers. He takes Mjolnir as a thirsty man takes water. First he touches it to the veil for form's sake, and to the maid for mischief's sake. Then the veil flies back. The red beard laughs once, like thunder rolling down a long valley. Here is the bridegroom's gift, says Thor, and here is mine. What follows is not a dance. Thrym falls first, then his kin, then the men who set the benches, then the men who brewed the mead. The hall shakes itself apart around them. Pillars crack, and the night wind carries out the firelight and the shouting. Thor fights like the world remembering its bones. Loki moves like a shadow at his shoulder, untying knots, tipping tables, leaving chaos that points the way home. When the red of dawn touches the edges of the sky, the chariot is already rising, goats screaming and sparks in their hooves. Mjolnir rides where it belongs, on Thor's belt. The veil, abandoned, flutters from a broken post in a hall where no vows were sealed. Back in Asgard, the thunder has its voice again. The gods tell the story the way warriors tell hard days, with laughter first, and only later with the stillness that admits how close the edge was. Heimdall returns his calm to the watch. Freya reclaims her necklace. Loki enjoys being clever, as he always does. And Thor hangs Mjolnir where his hand can find it in the dark. What does this tale remember for us? That strength alone can be fooled. But strength with wit wins back what matters. That oaths are not jokes, even when the hall is laughing. That there are times to speak softly and times when the sky must answer. A hammer is a tool before it is a weapon. It builds, it blesses, and when needed, it ends a feast that should never have begun. You've been listening to Mythic Story Chronicle. If you want more Norse stories, tell us which thread to follow next.